This is John F. Kennedy's cigar box.
Sure is. And inside,
Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face while you're sleeping. You got to spend money to make money, and no one knows that better than the Pawn Stars guys. We've compiled 10 such most expensive and biggest buys in Pawn Stars history. Watch and enjoy. Number 10. Cigar worth $575,000. How rare and unique do a few cigars have to be worth more than $500,000? I think if they once resided in the Oval Office, then they might have a value like that in the eyes of Rick. This mind-boggling deal broke when former President John F. Kennedy's cigar entered the gold and silver pawn shop. The moment Rick had an eye on them, he knew he had something of value, but to find out an exact amount of money, it was going to take a little research. The box even featured some untouched cigars that also belonged to the former president. After some tough negotiations, a deal was made for $60,000, and soon they were able to auction it off for $575,000. It means that every penny spent on the cigars was worth it. Number 9. Dutch East India Trading Bell. A medium-sized bell for $15,000 might appear insane to you, but wait till you know about its rich history. It was Dutch East India Trading Bell, which was made in 1602. The owner of an antique ship bell came into the shop and claimed that the bell was from a ship owned by the Dutch East India Company back in 1602. Of course, they doubted the validity of the claim, and it was in too good a condition to remain in the water for so long. The Harrison family asked the opinion of experts, and to their surprise, the expert confirmed that the bell was actually made in 1602 and was around $15,000 worth. Rick was excited to hear and bought the bell from the owner for that whopping $15,000. Amazing how antique things are sold for such good prices. Number 8. Spider Brooch. This is one of the coolest and probably the most surprising moments of Pawn Stars, in which the honesty of Rick was tested. It all started when a woman came into the store. She wanted to unload a piece of jewelry she got from a relative, and she had no idea about the value of the spider brooch she had, or what exactly it was in her possession. But as soon as Rick had seen it, he quickly examined it. He was looking very excited and nervous at the same time. While examining, he knew he was holding something extremely valuable, but the owner did not have a clue about it. She claimed $2,000 for the brooch, but Rick shocked everyone, including the seller, by offering her $15,000. It was very honest of him to offer such a huge amount of money to a seemingly clueless seller, but he just had to be honest, because it turned out that this spider brooch was worth $80,000, almost 4 times the original price, making this $15,000 purchase a great deal still. Number 7. $111,000 for 3,000 ounces of silver. This is an amazing deal that struck when a customer rolled into the shop with a dolly loaded down with 3,000 ounces of silver in bars and coinage. The moment he entered the shop, the Harrison family knew they had a deal on their hands. As the deal involved a lot of money, it is very easy for a scammer to fake silver with other metals at its core. So he drilled into the center of the bars to determine that they were purely made of the precious metal. He tested the silver with nitric acid, and it turned out to be pure. After the verification of the silver was real, striking a deal was easy. He purchased it for $111,000 at roughly the market rate of silver at the time. Number 6. 4 gold bars. Buying silver at the market rate was a big buy, of course, but hear me out on this as well. Rick once ran into a seller who was looking for someone to buy 4 gold bars, weighing 1 kilogram each. It looked like an item from an action film, Finding a Treasure or something like that. These gold bars were beautiful and raw. For the Harrison family, it was a rare find. Rick immediately called in an expert to examine the gold bars that might be an extremely valuable treasure from an old shipwreck. They decided to buy the gold bars and made one of the biggest purchases ever made by them on the show. They bought the 4 gold bars for $128,000 and were very happy to have them in their shop. Number 5. Gibson SG Les Paul Guitar. Guitars have always been one of the most valuable things to enter the pawn shops. The ones belonging to rock stars, or dating back to some important date or occasion, or for some other reasons, guitars are often considered precious items, but the one I'm talking about is very special. The owner of the guitar showed it to Rick, and then uttered a claim that gave the guitar all the material value it could ever have. He said it belonged to his Aunt Mary, and she used to play it with her husband, Les Paul. Yeah, you heard it right. It belonged to the legendary American jazz guitarist, Les Paul. It was one of the greatest moments in Pawn Stars history because it was a 1961 guitar that was played by the wife of the man who created it. You guys may know that Paul was the pioneer of solid-body electric guitars. It could never have gotten much better than that. An expert confirmed the value of it to be close to $150,000. A deal was made for $90,000, which was a pretty good deal to be struck. Number 4. 1922 High Relief Dollar. Okay, you might not have anticipated it, but what did you think? That only cars and guitars can fetch top dollar? Sometimes the Harrisons can give $80,000 for an actual dollar. This was the case with this rare dollar coin from 1922 that the shop paid $80,000 to own. Many of you will know that collector circles are one of the rarest American coins ever made, and its owner lucked into it in a poker game. He knew he had an expensive coin on his hands, but had no idea about its worth. The coin in question is very rare because of the sharp relief of its design. Almost all of the high-relief versions of the dollar coin were melted down shortly after they were stamped. There are a total of 12 such coins, and the owner had one such coin and asked $20,000 for it. Rick's coinage expert told him that the coin was worth as much as 5 times as that, saying it could easily sell for $100,000. Rick offered $80,000 for the coin, and the poker player happily took it. Number 3. Gibson SJ200 guitar. As I told you guys earlier, guitars are often one of the most valuable items to enter the store. A man entered the store with a guitar, and attached with the guitar was an incredible story of Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills & Nash, who owned this model of guitar in 1941. The guitar was visibly beautiful, incredibly well maintained, and boasted the lovely sound of mid-century Gibsons. But despite all this, the price asked was not because of these features, but due to a bill of sale signed by Stills himself that made the guitar worthwhile. Rick purchased the guitar for a solid $85,000, getting his hands on a piece of classic rock history that was bound to find a deep-pocketed buyer. And as we know, Rick will sell it for what it's worth, so it's not such a bad price to pay. Number 2. Lincoln Roadster. Sometimes to get big, you have to spend big. The big one in this entry was a luxury Lincoln Roadster, and the big amount was $100,000. The car was built in the middle of the Great Depression. It was a beautifully maintained mint and cream-colored roadster with a massive V12 engine hiding underneath its gigantic hood that was too good to leave the shop. It was an attempt by Lincoln's parent company, Ford, to lure drivers away from their competitors at Cadillac. For the decadent 150-horsepower classic car from 1932, they offered a cash buy of nearly $100,000. But guess what? The price they paid for the car came back in the shop immediately because the owner turned right around and used the $95,000 he made in the deal to buy gold from the pawn shop. Number 1. Sketches worth $250,000. Yeah, your mind might have blown off hearing me say that, but sketches worth $250,000? Who would have bought them? But wait, it surely was something that he couldn't help but have. A collector offered him the original sketches that became Maurice Sendak's children's book classic, Where the Wild Things Are, and Rick loved it at first glance. Rick even said that when he was a kid, he used to be fascinated by the pictures. It was the greatest book ever written. What made these classic sketches even more valuable was the fact that Sendak never sold prints of his work for Where the Wild Things Are. The sketches were one of a kind. After consulting with an art expert who told him he could expect to net $310,000 for the sketches, Rick talked the owner into selling the lot for $250,000. Thank you very much.